G'day and welcome back to Project Twin VNT. In the last episode, I got the TD42 ready for transplant, and then I added a ton of weight to this car in the form of some side steps and some ladder racks. In this episode, it's time to start tearing this car apart to put the new engine in. Now you've seen this before, so I'll make it quick, but don't worry, I am wearing the correct footwear.
Remember all the trouble I had draining the coolant on the first car? Well, this is not the first time I've done it on this car. It's been a while since I changed my exhaust oil. Despite my best attempts to plug the power steering with some rubber tubing, still had a pedal on the ground.
The TD42 is now sitting in its new home, and as the internet foretold, one of the engine mounts lines up and the other one doesn't. This is because of where Nissan decided to put the water pump on the 2.8. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a new engine mount.
The block has 6 big tapped holes for me to work with, so all I'll do is move the original bracket onto this one and backwards a little bit. The injector pump originally had a support bracket here, which I don't have, so I'll just knock one up that ties into the forwardmost top engine mount hole. And the engine is in.
Being a 2.8, my car never came with the factory wheel arch extensions, so ever since I put these bigger tyres on, I've been using these flexible rubber ones. They work okay, if a little bit flimsy and not particularly aesthetic. But the wagon that I stole the engine out of also came with a set of fiberglass ones. So I was going to fit them instead. Problem is, they're not quite wide enough, and during their lifetime either they or my quarter panel has changed shape slightly and they don't fit anymore. So, well, that was an unexpected time suck, and as anyone who's tried to colour match an older vehicle before can tell you, they don't quite mix in 20 years of UV damage into the paint code. Nonetheless, there is one advantage that rigid flares have over the fiberglass or rubber ones. Well, with that sorted, I'm going to start fitting some of the accessories back onto the engine, starting, for no particular reason, with the aircon. I've used the TD42 compressor and hoses because, provided I also use the condenser, it's a direct bolt up, so why not? Next, the clutch hydraulics. Now I already had to remove one of the slave cylinder brackets to make the engine fit, but it doesn't matter because the 4.2 slave is on the other side anyway. Instead of modifying lines and spilling brake fluid everywhere, I'm just going to steal the entire master slave assembly off the other car and stick it on this one.
The brackets to hold all the 4.2's clutch bits were already on the 2.8, so thanks Nissan. This bleed point is going to be in the way of where I want to put the airbox, but I'll deal with that later. And it looks like I wasted my time trying to avoid opening the lines, because I'm going to have to flush this anyway.
Next up is the starter motor, which fitted fine after I moved a bracket holding this brake line.
And drilled out the terminal.
Now for the power steering. I want to use the box off this one because it's a little bit beefier and take everything else off the other one. So hopefully the banjos are the same size.
And despite being different colours, yes, they are. I've used the original 2.8 fuel filter as the 4.2's was on the other side, will be in the way of my airbox, and all the fuel lines and injector pump are on this side of the car anyway. The alternator fitted with no hassle. I've stolen the oil pressure sender off the 2.8. Time to grab some oil filters. And I'll just throw some new belts on.
I'm ready to put the radiator back in, so that means I need to do something with this support panel that I cut out earlier. I could just clean up the edges and weld it back in, but there's a decent chance that in the future I'll want to remove this engine again, so I'm going to weld on some tabs and bolt it back in.
And what could be better material stock than the same one from the other car? After that colour match has a healthy layer of dirt on it, would you even know it wasn't original? Using this enormous radiator means there's no room for a shroud, but I still think that's probably better than using the original radiator with the shroud. Time to change the drive shafts over, and that means pulling the diff pinion flanges. For this, I'll need a special tool. I now have the ability to send power to the wheels and to choose which gear I want to be in.
Well, that marks a bit of a milestone for this project because it puts me exactly where I could have started it had I just bought a Patrol with the proper engine in the first place.
Thanks for watching.